the start of algebra, we need to go through a bunch of words that we like to use a lot of. So a bunch of terminology. It says at the top there, algebra is like a language. It may be used to solve problems. It is important to understand some of the terms when dealing with the world of algebra. So we're going to be looking at this expression that is here, 3x plus 4y minus 7z plus 5. Okay, so some of the words that we could use. The first one that's written there is the word pronumeral. Okay, so a pronumeral is the letters that are in the expression. So this one has 3 different pronumerals. It has an x, a y, and a z. An expression is a combination of numbers and letters, which is the pronumerals, that are joined together using add, subtract, multiply, and divide terms. Brackets can also be used. Expressions do not have equal signs, so do not have an equal sign. As soon as you put an equal sign in it, it becomes an, does anyone know what it's called then? No? An equation. And we will be doing those later on in this topic, but for now, focusing on expressions. So this is an expression because it has a whole bunch of add and subtract signs, and between the 7 and Z being a times sign. When they're next to each other, it means times. So that is an expression. And in that expression, we have terms. The terms are the combinations of numbers and letters that are joined together. And the easiest way to count them is to look for the plus and minus signs. So for a 3x is a term. Then I have a plus sign. The 4y is a term. The minus 7z is a term. And the 5 is a term. So there are 4 terms that are in that expression. Next one, coefficient. A coefficient is the number in front of the pronumeral. So I could say, what's the coefficient of the x? And you'd look for the x in your expression, and the coefficient in front of it is a 3. But if I said the coefficient of the z, the number in front of the z is the minus 7. And you always have to be careful with that, because most people forget the minus. Okay, if you do need to take, if it's negative there, you need to include that as well. So minus 7. A constant term is a special term. Remember, I had the first 3 here have letters. This one doesn't have any letters. That one is known as a constant term. So anything without letters is a constant term. So this one is the 5. All right, let's practice making some expressions. Here's our examples. Write an algebraic expression need for each of the following things here. So the first one is number of tickets needed for 5 girls and m boys. Well, 5 girls, I'm going to need 5 tickets, right? How many tickets do I need for m boys? M. Whatever m is, that's the number of tickets that I need, right? So how can I put together, if I want the number of tickets for the boys and the girls, what would I need to do? 5 plus m. Now, when it's addition, it doesn't matter the order. So if you write n plus 5, it's the same thing. Part B, the cost of D donuts, that cost $2 each. So one donut, sorry, what you can say? Not divide. Or you say times, yes. Because if I want 1 donut, it costs $2. If I want 2 donuts, I'd go 2 times 2, that's 4. If I want 10 donuts, I'd go 10 times 2. But if I want D donuts, I want to times whatever D is by the 2. Now notice the way that I've written it. I didn't write D times 2 because in algebra, we always want to make things as short as possible, as simplified as possible. So that means multiplication signs, we don't have. We put things next to each other, and that means also any number goes in. So the 2 will move the front to be 2D, and it means 2 times D. Okay, so they do mean the same thing, but we want it to be simplified. Question C. The number of grams of lollies if 400 grams is shared equally amongst C students. The key word there is shared. Divide. Now, do I write a divide sign? He says yes, you say no. Okay, so you think 400 divided by C. Is that the right way to write it? It is A over. Okay. So again, we don't use times signs and we don't use divide signs. Instead of divide, we turn it into fractions. So the better way to write it is 400 over C. That means divided by n. It's more simplified. Okay, on to the next page. Question 2. More algebraic expressions. So you need to be familiar with the types of words that we use. So you can see things in here like less than and some and square some, more than, twice. What do all these words mean? We could make ourselves a little list. Do you want to make a list? All right. What are all the things that you can think of that mean plus? Some. Yeah. Anything else? More than. Yeah. Addition. Can I think of anything else? I think that's probably it. What about a minus sign? What words mean subtract? Oh, I just said one. Subtract. Minus. Anything else? It's a very important one. Difference. And less than. Difference is a sneaky one. If it wants the difference between two things, it means it wants you to subtract them. Okay? The good old times sign, which is multiply, yeah? Or times. Or product. Product is a good one. Can you think of any others? I guess lots of, that's probably not a very common one. Lots of would mean to multiply. And divide, obviously, is divide. Or quotient. Or what was the one that we had before? It said shared. That's a good one. Shared. Because it's a good little list to have, and if we come across any others, we can add them to it. But that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're doing these questions. So let's keep that in mind as we do question 2. So 2a, I want 3 less than y. So the word less than does mean subtract. When you're doing subtract, though, you do have to be careful which way you subtract things. Because what is 4 take away 1? Down 1 hour, 3. But what is 3 take away 4? Minus 3. Okay? So you get a different answer if you reverse where the numbers are. So you've got to ask yourself, which one is being subtracted? The 3 being subtracted or the y being subtracted? When it says 3 less, that means 3 less than being subtracted. The 3. So even though the 3 is first, I need to subtract the 3. So when I write it down, the y is first, and then I less the 3, or I subtract the 3. Okay, so be careful with minus signs. Okay, question B, 4 more than twice x. Now, we didn't talk about the twice. It is another type of time, but it doesn't say we could do a whole bunch of. It depends on the question as to what we're typing by. So when it says twice x, that's going to be 2x. Okay, so I'm going to have 2x, and it says 4 more than twice x. Plus 4. This one, because it's a plus, it doesn't matter which one goes first. This one it matters. I have to do 3 times. But this doesn't matter if you're 2x plus 4 or 4 plus 2x. That is the same thing. Yes, right. No, it'll depend on how it's written. It'll all depend on the words. So because it says, believe that, then we are taking away 3. If it says, yeah, that's what we use. Right, question C. The sum of P and Q is divided by 5. There's actually 2 bits there. The first part is sum of P and Q. What's that? Yes. Now that whole thing has to be divided by 5. But we don't use, we know it's pretty obvious that divide sign, but we don't use divide signs, do we? What do we use? Fractions. So all of that has to be divided by 5. And D, the square of the sum of m and n. Now square is not one of our main four. What does it mean to square something? If I started with an x, it means times it by itself. So that's an x squared. And it means x times x. If the number was 5, it was 5 squared, it would be 5 times 5, which is 25. So there is 2 things happening in this question as well. I have a square of the sum of m and n. Now, which thing has to happen first? The square of the sum of m and n. You think? Oh, not about the m and the n. Am I going to, I've got to do a square and I've got to do a sum. But which of those 2 operations should I do first? The sum. Because it says I need the square of the sum. So I'm going to need the sum first so that I can square it. Yeah? Square of the sum. I need the sum. The sum is going to be m plus n. Sum means plus. And to square that whole thing, I'm going to have to put it in brackets and put a squared out here. That was a very yucky square. Let me try again. Squared. Okay? So we've got to pay very close attention to the details of the word because it can mean very different things. All right, next part is substituting into expressions. Now, the A's, B's, C's, X's, Y's, Z's, all those letters that we put in there can represent actual numbers, and sometimes we're told what those numbers are. So this you can see down here, you're told that A is 4, B is 9, 3, and C is 5. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to substitute these values into our expression. Now, this is a little order operations reminder, but I don't need you to do bottom maths to work these out yourself. The things that I want to see when you do this, I want to see 2 lines. The first line I want is for you to rewrite whatever expression you've got here with your numbers substituted into the letters. And the second step is just for you to calculate to work it out from there. So you don't need to do the bottom maths on your own, okay? Your calculator can do that part for you. All right, so first step. So I'm going to write equals underneath, and there's 3 letters there. There's a B, an A, and a C. I'm going to rewrite that expression. I'm going to replace them with the values that I was given up here. Okay, so 3B means 3 times by minus 3. I had to put my times back in. Okay, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to me with the 3 and the minus 3 next to each other. That would be a bit weird. Okay, so we know that next to means times. So if you put a number in there, put the times back in. All right, now we have to do the minus 4, and then we have brackets. Okay, this is AB minus 4, and then my bracket says A minus C. But A is 4. So I'm going to put 4 here. Then there's a minus in my expression, and now I need C, which is 5. All right, so now grab your calculators. Who has their calculator today? Good. And I just want you to type that in. What did you get? Did you get -1? Actually, I got -5.
Oh,
Oh, did you guys get -5? Oh, good. -5. Okay, so it's really that first line that should be the tricky one, just going and replacing all of the letters. So let's try. We want b squared minus 5ac. What is b? Right there, b. -3. Now, if you've got a square on there, you need to put the -3 in brackets, square it. Because anytime you have a negative number, if you don't put brackets in your calculator, it won't square the negative sign. So it will mess it up. Right, next we have our -5. And because the A and the C are next to it, we're going to do times signs. Times A, what's A? 4. And then times C, which is 5. Good, now put it in your calculator with those brackets. What do you get? Yeah. All right, that's it.